Coming up next, we've got a bit of madness. Literally, Mike Barson from the legendary group Madness will be joining us, so stay tuned. Welcome back to Sputnik. Our next guest is a founder member and a very important member indeed of one of the most popular and best-loved music bands of the past 40 years.
Madness had no fewer than 15 top 10 hits in the 1980s, including such memorable songs as Baggy Trousers, It Must Be Love and Our House, but they're still going strong today. They played in 2019 with a live concert on the BBC on New Year's Eve, and this year they marked their 40th anniversary with a UK tour and the release of a brand new single, The Bullingdon Boys, which takes a swipe at Boris Johnson and his old Etonian Oxbridge chums. And they're playing the old year out with 3 concerts at London's Roundhouse next week. It gives me great pleasure to welcome on board the Sputnik, Monsieur Barson himself, Madness's keyboard player and all-round good egg, the one and only Mike Barson. Mike, very warm welcome on board the Sputnik. Thanks so much for coming. I could have added to that, couldn't I, that there's also, in addition to all that stuff, there's a book out, a new book out about the band.
Yes, indeed, yes. We have a book coming out, yeah. It's called, well, not coming out, it's out already. It's called Before We Was We.
Before We Was We.
Before We Was We, yeah.
It's a good title. So what were you doing before we was we? you were in a band, weren't you, beginning called the Invaders? Is that right?
Yeah, same band though. We just had a few different names. Yeah, there's only ever been one band. It was only ever necessary to have one band. And yeah, it's about the period when we were, well, before the band started, yeah, because we thought, you know, just doing a history of the band is a bit boring and that sort of thing. And most people know all that sort of part of our history and everything. So we thought to do the period which is not so well known, which is, you know, when we were sort of growing up and teenagers and hanging out in Kentish Town, Highgate Road area. Some of us, I mean, not all of us.
Here in Camden.
Well, one of them, yeah, Woody was living in Camden Town, yeah. We were a little bit further north.
This is the graffiti spraying era.
This was which area?
The graffiti spraying.
Gravity Spring.
Graffiti spraying.
Oh, graffiti spraying, sorry. Yeah, graffiti spraying, yeah. We did a lot of graffiti spraying. We were pioneers in the field.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And so you went from Invaders to North London Invaders. You had to add the North London into it.
Yes, because there was a band in America. It was rumoured. I'm not really sure if this was true or not, but we were called the Invaders. And then somebody sort of read somewhere in a music paper that there was a band called the Invaders in the States, and they were getting a little bit successful. So we thought, why not the North London Invaders? Yeah. But it didn't really stick, no. And then for a little while, I used to drive a Morris 1000 van, which were quite common in those days. And I thought, well, why not call us Morris and the Miners?
It's a great name, Morris and the Miners.
I love it.
I didn't mind being a miner particularly, but Suggs wasn't keen on being Morris.
So that was it.
Doesn't really sound very glamorous. So that one got the boot as well, yeah. And then we named ourselves after an old Prince Buster song, Madness, which was he was one of the bands we used to listen to, Prince Buster from Jamaica. There were a lot of Jamaican music. A lot of Jamaican music, ska music, reggae music at that time was coming, and that was some of the best music around. So we were very into that, yeah. And yeah, so it's about that period, yeah.
And that was your first chart hit, wasn't it? The Prince. That was the 79, I think.
The Prince is about the man himself, indeed. So Lee was a big fan of Prince Buster, yeah. I mean, I like Prince Buster as well. One Step Beyond I really like. I mean, probably the reason we did One Step Beyond might have been because I liked it. It was a great melody.
Yeah.
But a lot of that old reggae stuff in that period, was brilliant. Amazing music, yeah.
And then from 70...
And the fact also that it came from out of sort of poor areas. What I love about that music is that it came from ordinary people, you know, not like, just normal people who picks up an instrument and they were playing it all day and they got really good, you know. Yeah. And so something about that kind of music, I think, a bit like Tamla Motown as well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very different.
With the house band, you know, and they were like on, I don't know what, they were on $100 a week or something, and a little bit extra to make sure they didn't play with anybody else. But they were amazing band, yeah.
Because it was an amazing period for music, wasn't it? When Madness were beginning to get chart success, late 70s, early 80s, there were so many great bands.
Best period for sure, yeah.
And why was that, do you think? Why were there so many at that particular time? Working class, organic bands coming up?
Well, when we came, working class, organic, yeah, there wasn't. When we first started, it was all this sort of pomp, how would you call it? You know, Emerson Lee, no, Emerson Lake and Palm, prog rock, but it sort of grew and it grew and it got a bit out of touch with everything. It sort of had, you know, past its sell-by date. And I mean, we started with punk music sort of in the same period. The Sex Pistols came out around then. So it was a resurgence of, it was an exciting time, I think, yeah.
Kind of
I mean, you'd never had youth like that, just getting out and doing it and making a go of it as well.
Yeah.
As they did in that period. And punk music was very interesting, you know, they were really breaking all the rules and everything.
You had an incredible period, Mike, the band from sort of 79 to 85, didn't you? You had more hit singles, I think. You had more time in the British charts in the 80s than any other band.
Yeah, we did not bad, yeah. We had some sort of combination, I think, yeah. I mean, we were lucky to meet the record company that we signed with, Stiff Records, who appreciated what we were, and he let us do our own thing, and he valued what, you know, he saw these working class jobs, you know, and he thought, yeah, that's interesting, you know, and so he said, you know, do that, don't try and be something else.
Exactly.
And so he promoted what we were, and so we could just be ourselves, and that was, you know.
Could you have thought in your wildest dreams that 40 years on, the band would have enjoyed so much and be so popular and so loved today in 2019 going into 2020?
No, of course not. Who could have said it? Who could have said that we'd all still be sitting here? Yeah, it was. No, I mean, funny thing was when we first started, I had a very strong idea that we could be successful, because at that time, a lot of the bands had become very sort of disconnected with ordinary people, and they were. It was these long guitar solos.
Yeah. You know, I was about 13, 14 when you first were on top of the pops, and it was that fun, the sense of fun, the lack of pretentiousness that contrasted with
that was a big part of it, a big part of it. I mean, we like that, yeah. And then afterwards it got a bit pretentious again, didn't it, with the New Romantics and all that.
Yeah.
Quite pretentious.
What about the episode that you were performing on top of Buckingham Palace? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was a turn-up. Talking about things that you never expected.
From Our House to playing Our House on Buckingham Palace. I mean, that was literally 40 years on? 82?
So I had this idea that we were going to be successful. I thought we could be successful, but I never saw any longevity. I mean, for some reason or other, all I could see is the first, making a bit of success, and then it was all, who knows what's going to happen next. But it did somehow keep going and keep rolling, yeah. I mean, we took some breaks, but then, So
what was the occasion on Buckingham Palace?
Buckingham Palace was the Jubilee. What was it again? Diamond Jubilee. Of Her Majesty the Queen.
Yeah.
Yes. And for some reason or other, God knows why, they invited us up on the roof of the... Well, I mean, there was a story, I don't know whether it's true, that Paul McCartney said, they're not going on before me. I don't know why. This is the rumour. And so somebody at the BBC said, what are we going to do? I know, well, Paul don't want him messing up the stage. We'll put him on the roof, to get him out of the way. And then Paul's like, damn. How did they do that? So we got up on the roof, yeah, and it was great, yeah. I mean, the BBC did something good there, for sure.
Yeah,
amazing.
They don't always, but they did then.
Yeah.
They did a great show, yeah, and they did all this, the lights on the front of the Buckingham Palace, which everybody loved.
Well worth watching that on YouTube. I think it probably still there,
they had, I don't know if you saw it, but they did these sort of work houses, and it was on the front of Buckingham Palace, and there were people banging on the ceiling, so it looked like you were looking inside the flats,
Amazing.
Highly amusing.
Wonderful.
Can we talk about the new single, Bullingdon Boys?
Bullingdon Boys, indeed.
The video's amazing.
Yeah,
anybody hasn't watched it yet, get on YouTube. It's got Alistair Sim from Scrooge. It's got Harold Lloyd.
All famous scenes are in it.
Fred Astaire. Terrific.
Yeah. And Malcolm McDowell,
Yes.
From If.
Yes, yeah. What was the background to that? When did the idea come for that?
Background to that? I don't know, these things just sort of pop out of the ether.
Yeah.
I suppose it's sort of, you know, you see what's going on in the world, and I mean, it's a bit of a mystery, isn't it? How we've got so many prime ministers, all from that one school.
The Eton Rifles, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know whether they're doing a great... I mean, I wonder what sort of curriculum they have, because they don't seem to have been doing such a great job running the country. So why do they all keep coming from there?
They keep coming back, don't they? Because, you know, the last decade we've had Boris and, of course, David Cameron.
Yeah, well, they're thick as flies. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it seems to be the Prime Minister's school, yeah. So that seems a bit strange to me, yeah. I don't see why we don't, you know... Well, Harold Wilson, I remember he was a man of the people.
Yes.
His favourite meal was baked beans out of a can.
Yes, and he liked to have HB sauce, didn't he? With a large amount of people.
That's the sort of Prime Minister we want.
We've had. The musicality about this is the thing I think it strikes me is yes, you were funny, yes, you were entertaining, yes, you were great fun, but the music was fantastic. The songs were... Obviously, they stood the test of time, because 40 years on, we're still singing them.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess so, yeah. Yeah, I mean...
So there's a quality aspect of it, isn't it? Because I think at the time, a lot of people, perhaps in the business, thought, oh, yeah, they're fun, they're entertaining.
Yeah, that was a thing that we got thrown at us at a certain point, yeah, by a lot of the press.
Seriously, but now, you know, everybody takes you seriously in that sense, that well,
that did happen. Like, yeah, we had this break where we you know, we went, you know, we took a little break for a little while, and when we came back, suddenly they started throwing around this term classic, you know. Suddenly they were calling us classic, you know, and they were comparing us to the Kinks. Well, we weren't before that, but we were when we came back. I mean, don't ask me what happened. But all of a sudden we were classic. And we were on a par with the Kinks and all this other stuff, which was lovely to hear, you know. I mean, you know, in the period before that, they were not so nice to us, but let's not talk about that.
Yeah. Well,